everything. Yeah, I'm just a dude with.
We got it all. What can I say? Welcome back to the collective. We got another great day for you. Great start. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Excellent. So for those that don't know C4L, what is your name? Who are you? Like
my name is Nick Strosser. I'm
Good.
from Windsor, Ontario, and
Yeah.
I am the sole proprietor of Corporal Life Apparel.
Boom. Just like the shirt that Shaun is sporting right now.
Love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. A little backstory on this, if I might just add this real quick. So before, I wasn't sure who was going to be joining us this morning, and I got my sleeves all gonked up. So when I saw Corporal for Life, I just thought, what the heck? I've got to get my C4L t-shirt on that I've had for, I don't know, about a year or so. It's one of my fave t-shirts. Because I'm a freaking proud Canadian, of course. But I do like the True North Tough statement, man. It works for me. Anyway, when I jumped into the green room, saw C4L, I was like, what the heck? I got to get my t-shirt on. So 2 minutes ago, I ran upstairs, scrambling around, trying to find the t-shirt so that I could do it live. But big fan of what you do, and I'm happy to wave literally the flag.
Much appreciated.
Awesome. So we got some interesting topics today, and we can dive right in. Or if you had either of y'all have any thoughts, retrospections, questions, anything off the top of your head that you want to dive into, or should we just go right into it?
Give her.
I'm happy to give her.
Yeah.
Give her. I love that. That's probably my favorite term ever.
That's going to be a t-shirt at some point. You know that.
I've got a hat that says literally "Giver." One of my athletes gave it to me.
Nice. All right. Well, let's.
I'm not sure if there's a coincidence there or not, but
let's dive in there. Then the first one we're going to do is Delegate and Disappear.
I love this one.
So Shaun and I were talking about this the other day, and this, for me, this was always the example of bad leadership, the Delegate and Disappear person. After talking with Shaun, though, he's got a different opinion of it, and I'd like him to start us off and explain it a little bit so that we have a better understanding.
Well, I would say this, that D&D, as I used to like to call it, not the Department of National Defense, but the Delegate and Disappear, is a classic statement. Definitely one that's widely used in the infantry, I might add. I'm not sure how it works for the other trades, but within the infantry, it's definitely a thing. And, back in the day, it used to be a case of you would delegate and disappear because you were lazy, because you were going to, put everyone else on task and then go to the coffee break room and just kind of put your feet up and do nothing. So that's, to me, what old school delegate and disappear is. But in my opinion, as I used to think, what we were at the time as young up-and-coming senior NCOs, it was, delegate and disappear so that the troops that you had assigned the task could get on with doing the task, but enabled. So you would set them up for success, give them the delegate, and then disappear, or at least slink into the shadows and maybe observe a little bit. Let them go be more awesome. Instead of me micromanaging and hanging over their shoulder and being a goof and irritating them, I can delegate and quietly slink off to the sidelines and keep an eye on it, but not too much of an eye, so that they can fully own the process.
That's great.
I like that.
Nick, any thoughts on Delegate and Disappear?
Funny, I just read Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership. There's really good book. I wish I would have read it earlier, but I just finished it, and it's kind of the same thing. Like, you have to make sure the guys under you know what they're doing, and you can't. It was kind of like when I opened my first store. I had to. It was the first chance I ever had to make people do what I needed them to do. I wasn't too overbearing, but I was kind of like you said, Shaun. I was kind of in the background, just watching, and when I needed to step in, if I needed to step in, that was the time where I would come in and say, "Okay, guys, good job, but we may need to do this a bit differently." So that, like you said, Shaun, I didn't want to be, and I would never want to be an overbearing manager or boss or anything like that, having someone over my shoulder. Like in the fire service, same thing. They trust us to do our job. They tell us what they want done, and we do it. So just like in the military.
It's a hard balance to figure out, though. I mean, I think certainly I made lots of mistakes in my military career on how to try to find the right balance. But, partly I'm to blame because, I was just kind of screwing it up, I suppose. But I was never really taught how to do it well. It was a thing that you kind of organically had to determine yourself, because it's not like there was a leadership course that discussed these kind of things at a deeper level. I mean, maybe a bit of lip service, but never ever was I taught how to do this really well. It was a learned process, and by learned, me making a ton of mistakes, but me observing everyone around me through osmosis who was doing it really well, of which there weren't that many back in the day that were doing it really well. But whoever was doing it really well, I was target locked on them, trying to learn how what their secret sauce was, how they were so effective as leaders, how they were so effective in interacting with the troops that work not for them but with them, but in a subordinated role. And so, I think of it's not that I often think of Corporal for Life as a brand or you specifically. It's not. I'm not constantly thinking about that, but I see in my IG feed all the time, and every time I see your moniker, Corporal for Life, I think, yeah, man, like I was a freaking corporal. I know the deal. I know the quiet pride in being a corporal. I get it. It's, I was a bit of a shooting star as well. Of course, once I got promoted corporal, shortly after that, I actually started going up to the stratosphere. But that wasn't my doing. That was the system kind of making me launch. But up until that point, I quite like being a no-hook private. I quite like being a one-hook private. And I really like being a corporal. There was a certain satisfaction in just being like, yeah, I don't play your game. I play my game. I'll be a corporal for life, and you can kind of like just eat it. Mm-hmm. And so, I did get promoted, of course, and that game was spoiled for me. I couldn't be a corporal for life, but I did like the idea of it, because to me, what it represents is someone who's been in the game long enough and who has learned enough, but isn't a ladder climber. And so they have a certain sense of, maybe doing it right for all of the right reasons. But the flip side of that coin is the corporal for life who is a shirker, who dodges work, who as a corporal will literally delegate to privates and then literally disappear. And they'll disappear for 10 years and still be a corporal, still doing the same thing. And so, delegate and disappear isn't just about senior NCOs putting the herd on the troops and laughing about it in the coffee room. It's literally corporals doing the same thing. And corporals who've been in the game, of course, long enough to be a corporal. They've been long enough in to decide who they are. Are you the shirker, or are you the dude who like does his job, leads well, but doesn't micromanage the troops?
That's a great point. The those corporals for life. I know a few of them who are awesome dudes, who are wicked, who turn down, PLQ after PLQ after PLQ after PLQ because they wanted to stay a corporal. And those guys are the subject matter experts. If you got a problem that you can't figure out, you talk to one of those dudes, and they know how to do it. Right?
Well, not all of them. They can be. They can be.
Correction. The one side, those super hard dudes that actually know what they're talking about, that want to be there, those are the guys you can talk to. But you're right. On the other side of it, there are those people that you don't hang around.
Well, they're a disservice. They're a distraction. They're dragging the system down. They're dragging down that 3-month in private. Yeah, because they're the dark side of the force, and so there's corporals that I knew back in the day that were more squared away than warrant officers, for sure. Mm-hmm. And so it's, to me, it was, I know it's controversial, but I couldn't care less about rank. I really couldn't, and that's something that I learned to appreciate when I was in JTF 2. I mean, my partner, my sniper partner. Actually, my assaulter and then my sniper partner. I mean, he was a corporal. I was a warrant officer, and do you know how much rank applied between him and I? the square root of 0. And so, he was a great dude. And though he was subordinated to me in rank and subordinated to me in experience and subordinated to me in amount of years in the system, that dude was a rock star, and he was my peer. He was my equal. In some regards, he was my superior, depending on what was going on. So that dude is a guy that could look at me, delegate something to me, and disappear, and I'd get on with that task because I respected him. And so, again, for this discussion about corporals, I don't respect the rank. I respect the man.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a conversation with an American friend of mine who's he was a warrant officer, and I asked him, like, what's it like? It's different for them than it is for us. And what I believe is the concept of being a good corporal for life is that you become a subject matter expert. That's the whole point. You stay at that rank so you know the job and you know it so well that you don't have to worry about rank, and you don't have to worry about who's in charge and who's not in charge. You can just say, I need that done, and guys will get it done. Super easy.
I had to explain that so many times, whether it be when I started this company or even just people asking me nowadays, like, oh, I can't wear this because I'm not a corporal or whatever. And I got to explain the whole corporal for life thing. For civilians, it's not such a big deal, but trying to get a military guy out of his own head that, I can't wear this corporal for life stuff like you, Shaun, you're wearing this and you were a warrant officer or however far you got. To me, this is a brand with a cool name, and there's going to be people that say, corporal for life is not for me. That's fine. Obviously, it's not going to be for everybody, but just the name was kind of a spicy topic at points.
Well, it is.
Tenure at the mall. It is.
It is, and
that's kind of the cool part.
It's as spicy as you want to make it, and it's as spicy as the other person wants to interpret it. And so, like, corporal for life can be like a flipping the bird to the system. It can be like giving the middle finger to the system, because there's corporals out there who are just going to fight the system as a corporal and not be part of the system because they are anti-establishment, they are anti-system, and they are anti-whatever. And there's corporals out there that just don't want to interoperate with the machinery that's wrapped around them. And then there's corporals on the other end of the spectrum who are corporals that are shirking, dodging, ducking, and trying to make a career out of not being visible. But the corporals who hang out in the middle, that are there to do the job well as SMEs or subject matter experts, and they don't want to get promoted out of their subject matter expertise. They just want to do the job, and they want to be not the man, but they want to be the reliable pillar of excellence in whatever it is. That's what corporal for life means to me. And I'll use myself as an example. When I was a corporal, I got put on the infantry section commander's course while I was in the airborne regiment, and that was run by the airborne regiment. And so 1, 2, and 3 commander were part of that. I topped the course. Because I topped the course, I instantly got promoted. Because I instantly got promoted, now I'm not a corporal anymore. Now I'm losing friends. Not losing friends in the sense of they all looked to me and said, you suck now, pal. It's I felt that I was not leaving them behind, but I was informed in no uncertain terms that my relationship had just changed with what was now my subordinates. And that didn't jive with me, man. I didn't like it at all. It took me a long time to get right with the fact that now I had this artificial construct called Master Corporal, and all of a sudden who I was had just changed because in one day I'd got some goofy cloth put on my shoulder. Yeah. That didn't work for my head, but I had to play the game in order to be efficient and effective within the game, not just for myself, but for the people around me, like my pals who the day before had been corporals. Yeah. And so every time I got promoted, when I got promoted to sergeant, I didn't want to leave the junior ranks mess. I didn't want to leave the shacks. I had to move into the senior NCO shacks in Victoria. And I didn't want to do any of that. In fact, I got called up in front of the RSM as a new sergeant, saying, you got to move out of the shacks. You got to move into the senior NCO shacks. And I looked at the RSM and said, but I don't want to. That's not where I want to be. I want to be with the troops. And he said, that is not going to be the case anymore in no uncertain terms. And I mean, all along the way, every time I got promoted, I wasn't interested in, I didn't want to leave what I thought was awesome behind. But as it turns out, looking backwards over time, you don't leave it behind. It's just that your relationship has to change to some degree. The trick is finding the balance on how to play the goofy new role that you just got, while at the same time maintaining some sort of connection with what just the day before was super rock solid to you.
Yeah. Any there were a few instances throughout my career where I wish I had taken that perspective, Shaun. And,
me too. Shaun, go back and give young Shaun some advice.
Exactly. But this is the fun part about it. I think the concept, when we're going back to Delegate and Disappear, the best leaders I had were the ones that gave me all the information I could need and then answered any questions I could have. And some of those were corporals, some of those were master corporals, some of those were warrants, sergeants, but there were also lots of all of those ranks that did not help at all, and they did just disappear. And I think the biggest point in there is the information, because there were lots of times where I got told to, hey, go clean that up, or go take inventory, or go whatever, right? Insert task here, with no real end state to it. It was just go.
Just do it.
Exactly. And that never sat right with me. But when somebody would come down and say, okay, I want you to inventory the bay, I want a full report, and I want drafted up in my office by the end of the day. It's on you. Go. Like that's different. It gives me a direct end state, it gives me all the information I need. Okay, if I have questions, I feel like I can ask them. And but yeah, unfortunately, when you get no information and it's just an open-ended bleh, I feel at least that's what I think. Any thoughts?
I agree with you on I remember same type of thing. Like you were saying, Shaun, you kind of took, or you guys both said it. I tried to take the best of each, whatever, it didn't matter what rank it was. If I saw a guy doing something that I thought was smart or good or made sense, I always try to pluck the best of everybody. And then when I was a master corporal for a very short period in the reserves. They kind of shoved me onto my PLQ, kind of like you, Shaun, but just obviously different. I was a reservist here in Windsor. They said, okay, you're going up, you're doing your PLQ. Didn't want it. I took it because I knew that was the next logical step in military life. But I tried, whether it was teaching or leading a section or being a 2IC, I always tried to take the best of every instructor, every leader, even if it was a junior guy. If I saw he did something right, I would use that for myself too. Kind of like just taking the best of everybody. And I thought I was a pretty good master corporal for the short period I was. Since I've been out, I've had guys that I either taught or worked with or led that have come and said, man, you were a really good, master corporal in that time period. And to me, that's awesome, because if you're not a leader in your life and you become a leader all of a sudden in the Army, that's a big fucking change, man.
It's a big change.
When I went from being that corporal for life that I thought I was going to be, now I'm teaching courses and I'm leading sections and shit like that. And that was like, but I just went back and I said, okay, I remember Master Corporal so-and-so was like this, and I loved how he did this. But then I also remember Sergeant so-and-so was a dickhead, and I don't want to be that guy. So I would just take the best of everybody I could get, and that's kind of how I led. And I'm still to this day, as a firefighter, I do the same thing. When I had my stores, I did the same thing. I kind of led as best as I could with the knowledge I had, and just plucked the best of everybody that I met. If I had a good sergeant, I would use what that guy's, knowledge or his way of doing things.
It's a good way to do it.
A couple of thoughts came to mind while you were saying that, pal. First thing is, I don't know how the system works nowadays because I've been out of it for quite a while. But when it comes to leading, delegate and disappear, as I said, try not to micromanage and all of that good stuff. When I was leading, let's say I'm now a new master corporal, and I've got a bunch of corporals that are now working for me, we'll say, and I was a corporal just the day before. Now I'm the master corporal. Now I've got to do that thing. What I was never taught to do, I was never taught to say this, and I hope that someone is now teaching people to say this. When I just newly been promoted and I've got a task that I've got to accomplish with a crew, and I'm struggling with that task. If a corporal came up to me and said, hey, Shaun, this is kind of going sideways. I was never taught to say this. You're right. I need help. And what are your thoughts? Like, how can I do this better? Like, I don't even want to be in this spot right now, Jimmy. So Jimmy, how can you and I do this better? Like, I was never taught to do that. And I mean, that's how you're supposed to do things. So let me hit you with the second thing that came to mind. So you're talking about loosely defining a task and then putting someone on task, and then hopefully they are meeting that task. Chance, you were talking about have this done by this time and the day, etc. So we'll loosely frame it as commander's intent. Now, when I was back in the regular army, there's no such thing as commander's intent. Do you know what there was? Like a gajabillion points of micromanagement to include precisely in what order you're going to pack the winter toboggan.
I remember those.
Bro, step back. I don't mouth breathe. I know how to pack a toboggan. Yeah. But that's how it was back in the day. And there was a phase of my career where that was kind of important, because what it taught me to do is how to be efficient and effective with a checklist, and how to pay attention to detail, and how to care about the minor points, and yada, yada, yada. That's all good. But that was when I was a young buck. I don't need checklists as a sergeant. I don't need you hanging over my shoulder as I've got my checklist while you're reading your checklist over my shoulder. I don't need that. And so when I left the regular military and into special operations, we were, of course, carving that path to some degree in real time, making it up on the daily, because it didn't exist before we were in it, and in Canada. And so as we were doing that, what I found was we started creating commander's intent, even though that wasn't the buzzword of the day that it is now. And, you talk about Jocko's book, and in that book, of course, he discusses commander's intent. But commander's intent wasn't two words put together ever when I was in the regular army, and it wasn't in special operations, but that's what we started doing. It was generally like not just me, but a pile of good guys. We just kind of stand around with our hands in our pocket and commander's intent it really broadly, and then execute against it. And so we were creating at that point, I feel, the general term commander's intent on how to do highly complex, multi-day, blah, blah, blah. And it was radically different than a full-blown Pathfinder patrol orders that takes 3 hours to deliver. These were commander's intent that were delivered in 10 seconds. And so that was truly a case of delegate and disappear. But that could only be done at a level where that's all that's required. And so the important distinction being that delegate and disappear can mean many things depending on who's delivering it and at what point in a person's career it's being delivered to.
That's a great point. Right. Here's a question. Why do you think that became, like, if you guys obviously weren't instructed on how to do this, right? You're making it all up on your own. Why do you think that became the way to do things?
That's a great question. I think without giving it much deep thought, my first opinion is this, that we were all super squared away. I mean, like a freak show squared away. On day one, every man that stood there next to me had resumes that were, like good to go. Yeah. And so there was that. There was no slackers. No one was standing there with their boots untied and unaware that their shoelaces were untied. Everyone was good to go. So that's first things first. You had quality raw material. The second thing is there just wasn't time, man. There was just too many things to do that were too many moving parts, and there's just no time to deliver detail. You just had to look the guy across from you in the eye and say, Pete, do that, move now. And you knew it was done. If you thought it was done. It was just a matter of who was going to do it. And if it wasn't you, it was going to be the guy across from you who was better at it than you. You just had to look and think, and you could consider that it's already done. So knowing that the person in front of you is highly skilled, highly competent, highly motivated, highly capable, looking at that and thinking, I just got to give a sentence, and that sentence is going to turn into a book's worth of deliverables of awesomeness. Once you're surrounded by that, you can forget about all of the details and just simply, truly delegate and disappear.
That's cool.
And we were disappearing because we were like,
Get other stuff to do.
Yeah.
I got to go. Yeah, that's awesome. The any other points? Any thoughts on Delegate and Disappear? You guys pretty happy on that?
No, pretty well covered, if you ask me.
Pretty well covered, yeah. Okay, so I got another really good one here, and I saw it earlier today. I was scrolling Instagram, as I do, and I've seen this comment from many. I guess you could call them celebrities, influencers, whatever.
Whoa,
you're gonna
already under my skin, burrows with the influencer.
Must be nice. So I figured we'd talk about it because it's a great line, because I think, as you go through life and you see somebody else that has stuff that you would love to have and you don't know any of the backstory, this is an easy concept to just kind of like plop into your head and be like, oh yeah, it must be nice to have this. Or, man, it must be nice to do that. Oh yeah, yeah, sure, it must be nice, without any sort of thought for what it actually took to get there. Any thoughts on must be nice? Nick, you're up, man. I can see it.
I think everybody has that at some point in life. But then once for me anyway, I'll just go with my own example. I like to think of myself as a hard worker and all that, blah, blah, blah. To an extent, I am. I think it's just the last couple of years that I realized how much goes into running a business and how much things can go sideways and how fast. Last time you and I talked, Chance, I was on this, what I thought was, skyrocketing.
You were climbing,
life, and then shit went south. I had to close both stores, let go of all my employees. And I'm realizing that building a business or building anything really that's worthwhile ain't easy. So now when I see people who've got what they have, obviously there's going to be scumbag CEOs and people that step on other people to get what they want. But for the most part, the people I'm following, the people I'm seeing are people that have worked their asses off from the ground up. Say like being in the JTF or special ops, like you've earned your spot in that. You didn't just walk in and get it. So that whole must be nice thing, I don't even say that anymore, because now for the most part, I know that if you've got something that I want, you probably worked your ass off for it. And I want to know how you did it. And if it's something I want, I'm going to do what you did. I will contact you. I'll copy you to see what you've done and to get there, because it's easy just to look at someone and say, oh, fuck, must be nice. This guy's driving this, or this guy looks like this. Every facet of my life now is, if I want to look a certain way, I've got to put the work in. If I want my business to be a certain way, I've got to put the fucking work in.
Okay, so we're letting it go for a little bit, but we got to watch the tongue. We're not swearing.
Sorry.
All good.
Freaking swearing. I like the word freaking.
Yeah. But I hear you. This is one of the challenges, right? Is that if you have to understand, once you understand the work, like truly understand the work, and then you go, oh, okay, well, that's do I want that? And you have to reassess. And if you really do want the work in order to get that thing, then yeah, give her. Shaun, you got any thoughts on must be nice?
Yeah, I do. Must be nice to have a fancy studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started with a phone bungee corded to a tree up on a mountain bike trail. All of this stuff is crazy to me. But these are all things that I won't say I've earned, but they didn't show up on day one. And I think that's an important distinction. Mm-hmm. And I think that ties into what you're saying, Nick, is you kind of got to earn your way. And earning your way is how you make mistakes, and those mistakes will teach you how to earn your way. And so you have to make enough mistakes that eventually you can look at people around you, and we'll call it as business owners. And I've been working for myself for over 20 years. Anything that I've got is a direct result of all the hard work that I've put in. I've earned it, but also it's been a combined earn because my freaking wife is a rock star, and we've been married for 20 years. And any success that anyone sees, like we'll call it tangible success of it maybe comes across as affluence or something like that. Ooh, that's a really nice wooden door that you've got, Shaun. You must have really made it to have a wooden door. Anyone who thinks that's not just me. That's a pile of different things all wrapped up into a single snapshot of what someone would deem quote unquote success. And so I've had to learn, and I'm still learning. I'm still doing it wrong. I've had to learn how to better present in a social media sense that must be nice aspect. Because I try to show enough of my life, my house, the inside of my house, the things I own, I guess we'll call it, the representation of it's nice to be me. I try to be careful with that because if I showed how nice it is to be me, it would be too much. It would be like, now I'd come across as a poser maybe, or I'd come across as humble bragging, or I don't even know. People are weird out there. They think that, I just went out and bought this hat today for this show. I've had it for over a decade. It's ratty and it smells, but I like it. It's my favorite too. It's earned, is my point. Yeah. And so anyone who thinks it must be nice to be me or it must be nice to be that, if you're thinking that, what you're not seeing is the decades of work, hard work, to get to standing in front of this goofy microphone. And so I struggle to find the right balance of showing enough to encourage people to want more for themselves, because if I can do it, anyone can. And by want more, I don't mean the sexy car or the flashy this or that. I don't care about the wealth of something. I'm talking about the value of something. So if you value something, it's important to you. It would be nice to have that thing that you value. Go freaking earn it. And once you've earned it, be proud that you earned it. You don't have to rub it in everyone's face, but you can own it through demonstrating that you earned it, is my point.
Love it.
Yeah. That's all it is, right? Like these. I just got to throw these up one more time. Boom. Like these.
Oh, yeah. Earned.
Right? Earned. Like
can't buy them.
No.
I love something that you can't buy. You've got to earn.
Yeah. That's a good feeling. One of the things, things that I like is like your brand, like Corporal for Life. Being able to, I can buy that, right? But that's not the, and I'm gonna, don't worry. But that's not the point, is that every time that you see someone wearing your shirt, that's something that you earned, right? And so when you create a brand or you create a concept, when we see people asking questions on the collective, it's that same thing. It's not that we just all of a sudden were granted those. It's that we put in the work ahead of time in order to get that one little thing. There's a song that I really love called "Humble and Kind" by
it's a country song.
It's a country song. I just forgot his name. The guy who sings it, he's super famous, and I can't remember his name. But there's a line in it that is consistent with this, in that you have to, when you get all the things that you work for, be proud inside, but still be humble. Like, be okay, cool. Like, I did it, awesome, great. 100%. That's it. You don't have to be flashy.
Yeah, but that takes a long time. It took me a long time anyway. I'll tell you what I wasn't when I was younger. I was not humble, and I was not kind. Period.
Yep.
That took me a while to learn. And I can't even put I can't circle a day on the calendar and think, oh, that's when I became humble. I can't. Or, oh yeah, look at that day when I became kind. I can't do that either. I'm still actually trying to do them better. I do them way better than I did when I was younger, but I can still do them better. I still try to be kinder. Sometimes I'm reluctantly kind. Sometimes I'm authentically kind, but I can still be kinder and I can still be more humble. But, again, it's that classic case of in it in that classic, oh, it must be nice to be you. Trying to find the right balance of how to portray who you are and be authentic while not be like not humble. It's tricky to find the right balance for each person, but it's almost impossible to present the right balance on humble and kind to the entire world that you don't know that exists on the other side of this camera, the entire interwebs. Because there's going to be some foolio out there who's going to be listening to this and thinking, oh, what do you know about? Must be nice to be you. Like, there's always that guy.
Yeah.
Always that hate-filled, simple-minded, mouth-breathing fool who thinks that his life is so hard and mine was so easy that it must be nice to be me. Dude, you got it so wrong. That's all on you. Whoever's listening to this and thinking it must be nice to be the idiot who thinks that statement is true, because your life is so simple, man. All you get to do is sit and stew in your complaining in your hate-filled head and think it must be nice. That's a really easy existence. It sucks as an existence, but it's a really easy existence because it requires no work. The only work you have to do is complain.
Yeah.
And so that's not burpees, that's just complaining. And so the how to counter a must be nice program, when someone says, must be nice to be you. All right, well, get after it. If you think that this is nice, pick up the pace.
Yep. I love that.
Any thoughts on that, Nick?
I totally agree with you, man. Both of you. Like I said, it's just been the last couple of years, especially with business. Like I've had a good example of what you just said, Shaun, about the person on the other end saying, oh, it must be nice. I've had veterans message me directly and, say you should be donating 100% of your profits to this and that. And
oh, wow, really?
What they don't understand is the amount of money that I pull in, which is very little right now. That has to keep the business alive. Like I have a full-time job aside from C4L that is my earnings for my life. And then I have C4L is what I'm trying to build into a company that can last and can.
Dude, it's so hard. Small business is so hard. I'm
8 years in now. I'm in my, I think it's the 8th year now for C4L. And we're still, I got stuff, I'm running inside of my garage, 15 feet away is where everything resides for Corporal for Life. So when I had the stores, people were thinking, I had friends, oh man, look at you, you're killing it. You're at the, no, man, maybe I look like I was killing it. No, man,
it's killing me.
Exactly. the amount of stress and all that I was under, which
buddy.
Business owners can understand. So that whole must be nice thing. I don't look at anybody and say that, because I know at some point that person put in the work and is probably still putting in the work to make whatever they're doing happen.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the key point that you just said there, which is all super legit, is that in order to better understand the whole, oh, it must be nice, what you've got to have experienced is hardship. You've got to understand the game. And if, all right, here we go. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a really fine point on this subject. If you're a veteran, and let's say you did 10 years in the military, and you get out of the military, and now you're pointing at everyone else except yourself, and you're saying, oh, it must be nice to be you. Here's why you're thinking that. Because you spent 10 years in the military with someone holding your hand. You were looked after. You were told when to go eat, you were told where to go eat, and you were told how long you had to eat, as the example. Now, I know that sounds like I'm kind of talking down to whoever. I'm not. I'm talking to me. I freaking know. I did it for 13 years. I know the game. I know what it means to be in that system. It is a institution that looks after you. Now, of course, you got to do the hard work. You got to do this. You got to do that. But it is designed to be your mom and your dad. Now, when you get out of the military, guess what? You don't have that anymore. There's no one looking after you. There's no one holding you accountable. There's no one telling you what time to set your alarm. There's no one telling you how hard you got to work. Now that's all on you. And that is a rude awakening. And so at some point, what I've experienced with veterans is this. They either get right with the program and realize that the work continues, but you're the CEO of your own work, or you sit back, you start eating your Doritos, and you start complaining against everything that is called they. It's all about they screwed me over. They don't like me. They don't get me. They. I know 100% this to be true. Anytime someone jumps into a conversation with me and starts dropping too many theys, they don't get it. And so, like Nick has experienced, it is freaking hard work to run a small business. I've been doing it enough that I get that. But if you've never got that, if you've never done that, if you don't understand this simple statement, if you're saying it must be nice to be you, well, go earn it. And I'll tell you what, as you're earning it, you'll realize how not nice it is to be me at times. But you don't know because you're brushing the Dorito crumbs off your chest after coming out of an institution that held your hand for 10 years. So now what? This is where you get the moment of reality. You get to shake your head and say, what do I want to do about that? If Shaun just told me that all of that is a pile of nonsense, what do I do? What should I do, Shaun? I'll tell you this. Drop the word they completely out of your sentence structures for the next month and go earn some pride, go earn some satisfaction, go earn something that you can stand up a little taller and think, yeah, man, I earned that. That would be my advice.
My son hit me up with this the other day, and I thought it was pretty funny. But he can't remember why, but he asked me why I was doing something, and I needed to work out that night because I couldn't do it in the morning. So I was going to work out that night, and I was getting ready just right after dinner. And he was like, "Why are you going to work out today? Didn't you do it this morning?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, why are you doing it right now?" And I'm like, "Because I need to work out today." And he goes, "Well, but no, you don't have to." And I was like, "You're right. I don't have to. I'm gonna." And then I told him afterwards, I was like, you know what's great about being an adult is I can do anything I want. You know what's horrible about being an adult? I can do anything I want. Like, it doesn't.
I'd like to reframe that, actually.
Okay.
The great thing about being an adult is, well, you can almost do anything you want. I mean, within reason, of course.
Yeah.
So you can almost do anything you want. But the tricky part is most adults don't know what they want to do.
That is a great point. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah. Nick, any thoughts on that?
All this stuff, I've been reading a lot of books lately since I closed the stores. I've been reading a lot of cool books on just trying to better myself, because at one point I realized when I was doing C4L in the stores, I wasn't the best me that I could have been. And I tried as much as possible for that not to leak into my employees. So there was a couple times they probably saw me in a not great light from reacting to certain things. But just like you said, being an adult, you can do what you want. And I think it was last February, so it's been almost a year. I took a little book and I wrote down what the new Nick's going to look like. And it started off with a new mindset. That was number one. And the new, like you said, working out. I wake up every day now, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I do either a bunch of push-ups, sit-ups, calisthenics, and go for a run. And if I don't get that run done, I do it. I actually probably got to go for a run when I'm done with you guys, because I didn't wake up. But I realize that it's all on me. Like, I can blame the weather. I can blame my dogs. I can blame being lazy. I can blame my sore ankle, whatever, right? But I'm now at a point where if I don't do my run in the morning, I don't do my workout, I have to do it at some point. And if I don't, that's all on me. And if I feel bad about it, that's because I made it happen, right? Nobody forced me not to get up and go for my run in the cold. Extreme ownership, pretty much.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, drop the they.
I'm trying to own, I own everything I do now. If I fail at something, that's me. Whether somebody else helped me fail, that's irrelevant. It was on me for not making whatever the task was clear enough that we made it happen.
Yeah, something that's important in respect to that is, you're 100% right. But where a lot of people get it wrong is they then catastrophize or they turn it into a catastrophe that they didn't get their run in. So, it's all going to fall apart now. What is a great thing in taking ownership of your life and stop blaming everyone else. Just look at yourself realistically and say, I can do better. The great thing about that is if one day you run out of time to get a run in or whatever the case is, or you just backslide a little bit, you just don't execute against that task, you can hold yourself accountable, but it's not a catastrophe. Right. It's just a lesson on how to do it better the following day. But a lot of people will set themselves up on a program of, okay, I'm going to do better. And they're 3 days into it and they don't get their run in. Now it's the end of the world because they quote unquote betrayed themselves, or however they want to spin it. But bro, think about it. 3 days ago, you were eating Doritos doing nothing. At least you got like 2 days of running in. You backslid a little bit, but tomorrow you get to do it better. You just learned not to suck like you just did. You just now have a better way to do it better tomorrow. Yep. So no need to turn these minor blips into catastrophes that they're not.
That's something. Go ahead.
Go for it, man. No, give her.
I was just going to say what you just said, Shaun. That was me probably 13 months ago. If I didn't do what I said I was going to do, it would have taken, I missed one run. You know what? I might as well skip today.
Yeah.
Then I pick up the bag of Doritos. Now I'm going to skip tomorrow and I'm going to sleep in. And luckily I have an amazing woman that she will, if I don't wake up at 6 a.m, she hears my alarm. She's like, hey, you got an alarm for something. You better go do it. What do? I strap on my shoes and I get outside.
Yeah.
So it's great to have a teammate like that, because there are days where I don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
You and everyone else.
Yeah.
You and everyone
else. I called in sick to work. I wasn't feeling too good. I said, okay, well, I'm not working today. I might as well sit my ass on the couch and do nothing. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. So I ended up doing my calisthenics, which it sucked. It wasn't fun to do, but I got it done and I felt so good after.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think I'm trying to be on this crazy new, nothing too crazy, but a new me.
That's good, man. Generation 2.0.
Not like I didn't like the old me, but especially running a business, I can't run this business if I'm not the best version of me. C4L is just going to tank if I'm a bad person, and if I can't, be the most elite version of Nick, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also called the business of life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
It truly is. And one of the challenges in this is that we've changed all the time. We just don't really remember doing it, right? When you were a kid, you were different than you are now. When you were a 20-year-old, you're different than you were now. I mean, I'm better looking now than I ever been. So I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But that's the thing. I guess we do it so slowly. Like over time, there's a gradual change that when we actually need to make a hard change, we need to make a hard left turn. Okay, it brought up, while you guys were talking, it brought up a thought back 3-4 years ago now, where my pants were getting tight. Right, I was wearing a 36 waist jean, and they were starting to get tight, and I was
probably the jeans' fault.
Absolutely, they shrunk. Obviously,
the jeans,
they shrunk. But hey, Satch, morning. It wasn't the jeans' fault, right? It wasn't the jeans' fault. It was the fact that I wasn't doing anything. I was not pushing myself. I was not working out. I was not watching what I eat. I was not doing anything. And one thing I've learned over time is I use it on the Tools to Toolbox podcast is the grace, not slack. Is that you give yourself grace if something doesn't happen. Yeah, that sucks. Okay, I'm going to do that better next time. Yeah. If you make a mistake, you do whatever, you don't have the day you want to have. Okay, that sucked. Let's do better tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Versus slack of going, well, I guess now that I missed one run, I'm never going to run again. And it's just silly.
That was me, man.
Yeah, I was the same.
It's a lot of people.
Well. Yeah, I think a lot of.
But here's the difference. What you did was you decided to, you sat down on the couch, going to have a lazy day on the couch. Then you thought, you know what, I'll get a little bit of calisthenics done. And so that's turned the day into a win. It's a small win, but it's a win. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that would be the point that I would like to let sink in for anyone who's listening out there right now is, let's say, you don't even have the juice to do some calisthenics. Okay, Now you're just like, quote unquote, trapped on the couch and you just can't get off the couch, as an example. All right, grab a book and learn. Making yourself better, getting a small win isn't about like cracking off a world championship chin-up bar session. A win is making yourself better in any tiny little way possible, because tiny little wins stacked up day after day, year after year, a decade later is how you become awesome. You're carving awesomeness in real time on a day to day, but you won't see it. You won't see it until you can look at your body of work across 10 years. Yeah. Then you'll realize the tiny little wins that you got each day. You read a book, you read a chapter, you read a page, whatever it is. Tiny little wins throughout your day. Even when you've got no juice, you can find some juice to create a tiny little win.
Indeed.
100%.
I just had a thought on that. It's as if I see that when I'm teaching other people, when I'm the instructor and I watch someone learn a new skill, I'm watching them gain those little wins over time to get that skill. So would it perhaps maybe help to think of it in a teaching mindset, in that, like, teach yourself, instruct yourself how to do something? Because as an instructor, I'm going to watch people fail a task pretty regularly. I'm going to watch them succeed at that task over time as they learn that skill. So perhaps maybe it's the mindset for some people who struggle with, excellence every day, which the connotation on that can be challenging. But
only
perhaps
if you're scared of it.
Some people are. And so I think
then shake your head.
I think
honestly, what's holding anyone back from thinking that? What's holding you back from thinking that?
Myself.
So change it.
Yeah.
How hard was that? You didn't even have to do a push-up to change it. It's just a mindset. It's just how you think. Yeah. It's how everyone thinks. And to the point, if you think that you suck, you suck. If you think you're going to crush it, you're going to crush it. If you think that you expect excellence of yourself every day, that's your reality. Mm-hmm. If you think that I love me the Dorito crumbs every day, that's your reality. There's no one shaping your universe other than you. There's no one in charge of you other than you. All of this is you. And so, and I'm not speaking to you two right now. I'm speaking to the interwebs, of course. Yeah. It's all about what you tell yourself. You're either telling yourself the lie or you're telling yourself the truth. What's the lie? The lie is you suck. Yeah. The truth is you're awesome. The problem is you haven't figured out which one you want to be yet.
See, and this is why I think you having a mic stand is not great, because that should have been a mic drop. Like the fact that you gotta swing it off to the side for the win, man. That would have been awesome.
But am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
I mean, I'll chirp at this stuff all day long. Like, it's not that I'm ranting. It's stuff that I know to be true.
Yeah.
And I know it to be true because I've witnessed it too many times. I've been involved with it too many times. I know it like the back of my hand to be true.
Yeah.
Now, the trick is how to put that across to other people without sounding like I'm pumping my fist at the clouds and being a crazy old dude in front of a microphone. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just trying to get the word out that whatever you're spinning up in your little peanut, that's on you. And you can change that in a split second. I'll side tangent here for a sec. There's a guy that I was following just a few days ago. I had to release him. I had to unfollow him because he was saying crazy things, man. Like, to his IG followers, not to me directly. But he's just saying Looney Tune things, like dumb things. Mm-hmm. And so I bounced him. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to like stay engaged with that guy because in my head, I thought, maybe I can help this guy. But it's not my job to help him. It's his job to help himself. And so I could pour myself into that guy and try to make him turn the corner a little bit and recalibrate in a more positive fashion instead of being a hate-filled hater. Mm-hmm. But I can also spend that time interacting with people who are much easier to move the needle on so that they are chasing a more positive lifestyle. I've only got so much time. We've all only got so much time. What to do with that time what I'm doing is this. You want to think like a hater, or you want to think like excellence? You get to decide.
Yeah.
I can't make anyone think what they want to think, do what they want to do, all of that. I'm not a puppet master. You're your own puppet master, but just know that you're not victim to the universe. It's your program to run. You can change it all in a split second. So do better.
Yeah. And then do the work.
Yeah, the
Do the
work
work.
is this, believing that you can be excellent every day.
But that's what I mean. That is the work. That is the, because you could just say, "Hey, I'm excellent," and then continue doing what you're doing.
Do you believe that?
I don't, but I can see some people.
You know
I
that
don't.
it's true.
I know that it's true. I'm just saying
Yes.
that there are people out there that could look at it and say, "I'm excellent," and just call it a day. Versus, that's not actually doing the work, and it's not
But
really.
they know in their heart they're not.
Nah,
We all
good point.
know.
That's
We
true.
all
We know.
We can't lie to ourselves. We know when we're lying to ourselves.
Mhm.
I can't say I did my push-ups this morning because I didn't yet. I know that. Everyone knows that. You know, everyone knows the truth within themselves. We don't, there's no need to lie to ourselves. Either you are or you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know it.
Yeah.
And so anyone out there who's thinking that excellence isn't achievable ever in their life on a regular basis, you're lying to yourself. You're scared to go and force choke it like Darth Vader, grab it by the throat and squeeze more excellence out of life. Don't be scared, homie. Go own it. Go own your life. Go crush it.
Yeah.
Go be awesome. Don't be scared to be awesome. In fact, you should be scared of the idea that you won't think about excellence. Change your mind. And in changing your mind, guess what else you're doing? You're changing the mind of everyone else around you. You're being a force multiplier by owning your nonsense, going out and crushing it, demonstrating to others that it's as easy as can be in a split second. Change your mindset, lead by example.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Just begin, man. Just begin. So we are almost at an hour here. I found the song done by Tim McGraw.
Ooh.
It's called Humble and Kind. And the line that I'm talking about goes like this. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. And I absolutely love that line.
Mhm.
And I don't know why I couldn't remember it earlier because I sing it on my guitar, but some reason my mind just blanked on that.
Let me ask you a question, boys, because
Okay.
I'm not a country and western dude, and I'm not throwing country and western under the bus. But back in the day, all used to be about my dog died and my truck broke. That's how the kind of country and western that I was raised on. I'm sure it's much better now.
Not really.
Tim McGraw, who I don't know, is he a dude that is he's singing the song?
Yeah.
But is he living the life? Because here's my first thought. If that guy's in any way, shape, or form famous, chances are he's probably got a Ford 950 truck that has a 47-inch lift kit and 12 winches on the front. Now, I don't know if that's true, but chances are he's probably living large and in charge. And in order to live that rock star or country and western star lifestyle, chances are he's probably less humble and kind than he could be. At least that's my observation of most stars.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Who's Tim McGraw and does he live a humble and kind life?
Well, from what I've seen, like I'm not a huge music follower, but the little I've heard of him, he is a massive star though. He's like one of the top names in country music. And he does live the humble and kind lifestyle. He helps young artists and he helps donates a lot to charity. He does a lot of work in the community.
Okay, I dig it. So that's a kind of perception that you come across from just observing him casually.
Yeah, but I don't really know him by any means. But that's what I've seen, and that's what I've heard from the crew. But
you got a word on that, C4L?
I've been listening to country since I was a kid, man. My parents kind of shoved it down my throat in the car as growing up. So I've listened to all country since I was probably 5 years old. But I'm a big fan of Tim, and yeah, he does. Again, I don't know him personally, but kind of like you said, Chance, he seems like a good dude that would probably.
That's awesome.
I don't think he'd be stepping on throats, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's nice. And it's nice that a dude who's singing a song about being humble and kind is actually maybe being humble and kind, especially at that level. And
Yeah.
my goodness, we definitely need more of that.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the reasons why I learned the song was because it was just a great song. A, it said a lot to me. B, and it's fun to play. It's actually quite easy to play on the guitar. So that was one of the reasons why I started learning it. So any final thoughts before we go? We've talked about Delegate disappearing. Must be nice. Anybody got any final words before we shut her down? Nick, you're up. What do you got?
I liked what we talked about today, man. It was again, I haven't talked to you on here in at least a year and a half, probably
it's been a while.
Close to 2 years. So
yeah,
things have changed for me, and what you guys are talking about, I think we're probably read the same books or listen to the same stuff because again,
Living good lives.
Yeah,
exactly. And I wish I would have. I think if I still had the stores, I guess depending on how it was going, I don't know if I'd be at that stage right now. I think it took a lot of bad things to happen to me before I had to really say, okay, Nick, it's on you, buddy. Like, you can blame them all. You can blame COVID. You can blame people not buying your stuff. But at the end of the day, it's me to keep me as good as I want to be, right? That's keeping my business alive. That's keeping myself in shape. That's everything in my life. And I'm going to keep reading these books, listening to these podcasts, and listen to guys like you because you can make a change around you. Like right now, people are not in the best place in life. And what I'm trying to do now is, even with my friends, is just show them that, hey, little Nick here, who's a kind of a smart aleck, not the best student in the world, class clown, can come up and become the most elite version of himself within a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I just hope people see that. Like, I've lost a bunch of weight. I hope my friends say, holy, look at you, man. Like, you're doing something right. And I'm going to keep doing those right things day in, day out, whether I want to or not. And those things will compound over time.
That's right.
Agreed. I love that. I love what you just said, man. Be the elite version of yourself. Yeah. No one's ever framed it like that, but I totally dig that.
I like it.
That should be on a hat.
That should be the almost like we know somebody that
could
makes
be on a t-shirt,
clothing, maybe a t-shirt or maybe a hat of some kind. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, Shaun, any final words before we shut her down?
No, just other than thanks for showing up, pal. Thanks for being not an awesome guest, just for being a good dude. Thanks for putting out great Canadian pride, some patriotism content out there, which is sorely needed in our country, as I feel. I think that, at least from what I saw, you got a great balance of what I think it means to be a quietly proud Canadian. It's a tricky balance to achieve correctly. Sometimes a little bit too loud, sometimes a little bit too quiet. Sometimes it's like the three bears with the porridge. Trying to find the right porridge. It's tricky, and I think that you did a great job shining the light on Canada, but not too bright of a light.
Thank you.
And I think that anyone who's listening to this and thinking about Corporal for Life or about being a patriot, I'd like to end it with this. To be a real patriot, I think what you've got to do is care about your fellow Canadian. And that means that lend a hand and lead by example so that our communities can be stronger by learning how to do it better. Like Nick just said, be an elite version of yourself. There should be no shame in that. That should be something that you pursue with all of the energy that your life has to offer. Be elite in life so that you can be elite for those around you.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
Man, this is awesome. It's so wicked to be able to sit down and chat with you again. You got an open seat on the on the collective if you'd like to join us.
Yeah, just no swearing.
Just no swearing. It said so in the email.
It's a hard habit to break.
Don't tell my wife; she'll be all over me about that.
You know what? Maybe we should make a swear jar on the collective. So if you swear while filming, you got to donate somewhere.
All right. I got to do that in my own household, my friend.
That's right. There you go mop the floor, swear boy.
Well, there you go. See, and this is the thing. It's a win. We held you accountable.
Thank you.
You
Not too
then,
hard, though.
not too hard, but then you cleaned it up for the second half, and man, that's a win. That's a win right there.
Big
You
win
might
for
be
me. That's
recognized.
Totally
going to my
elite.
win list, man.
Yeah,
I
and
actually have a
that's-
list every day of small wins, and that's a win for me today.
I love
There you
it.
go. So, as you learn, as we learn, as we all learn, we can then build ourselves into the elite versions and continually grow every
I think
day
we all should.
here on the
I love it.
collective. We'll talk to y'all later. Chimo.
Chimo.
Cheers, guys.
There we go.